Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Monday, February 18th, 2019, 4:52 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. And it's been about 10 days since we looked at the snow and ice cover in the Arctic, and I thought we'd look at it in the Arctic and the Antarctic today. But I'm going to focus on the Arctic because this is, we're starting to see the sun peak out up there, up beside Novaya Zemlya, and different places are coming into view on NASA Worldview. But first of all, and also we've seen a lot of methane coming up, and that's always interesting. But the first thing I want to do is do a slideshow, and let's just start at the beginning of February, so 18 days, and so we can see what's happened in February with our eyes, with the sea ice. So we're looking at Climate Reanalyzer starting with February 1st, and I try to save these every day, and sometimes I forget and miss a day, but I'm pretty good at getting them almost every day. We saw a little bit of retreat up here at the beginning of the month. We see it retreating away from Svalbard there, and I did cover that in a show, I think on February the 8th. So here it is on the 9th, where it's starting to fill back in around Svalbard, and we're not really seeing it coming out more as far as extent, but it's mainly thickening. A little bit of extent is coming out here in that Bering Sea. Okay, so here we are today on February 18th, and so we saw it just kind of holding, but mainly thickening up and coming at the extent coming a little bit here. So then I've already downloaded the GIF from the U.S. Navy military website for the sea ice thickness, and this is for the Arctic, and here it is for today, the 18th, and this is the global view, which is their current data model that we want to use. And so here's the extent. You can see the edge, and so it's gotten a little bit thicker. The thickest is right down here in the red, just a little bit, and we can zoom in on that, and we can see that the only red that we're seeing a little bit of red and yellow up here on the northern part of Greenland and this northern end of these Canadian islands. So, and that's, the red is getting up into 4 to 4.5 meters thick. The yellow is around 3.5 to 3.75 meters thick, and then the green is between 3 to 3.5 meters thick. And we're seeing a little bit of green, there's not much. And then we're seeing more aqua than we saw last time, and it's in this northern part above Greenland, and when in these quadrants we see it's in the southern half, and here's the North Pole here, and then when it goes into the darker aqua it's less thick. So when you see this lighter aqua, it's about 2.5 meters thick here, and we can see it's you know, it's not uniform, and that means it's nature. Nature isn't going to be like building blocks that are all rigid and squares everywhere. And we're seeing also down here, it's really thin along this coastline of Canada and looks like part of Alaska here. So we're going to look at NASA Worldview today and see if we can take a peek at that ice, because this is in view. I mean, it's not in the dark anymore. So when you get down to the purples, you're down to 1 meter and under in thickness, and when it's this lavender, it's like 1/2 meter and under. It's just not much at all. And so that's where they're at right now with the sea ice concentration. And here's the 30-day GIF that ends up a week out from today, and it went back 3 weeks, and then it does a week into the forecast period. So if we stop it here on the 10th day, which was on February the 5th, we can, I'll do it slowly so that you can see what's happening. You can see it slowly moving and shifting. Not a lot of change, a little bit of extent coming back here, but mainly a little bit of thickness, but not a lot. You know, we've lost that old sea ice, and it's just not coming back. I'm going back to today, so here's where they are today. And so for the next 7 days is what they're forecasting it to do. So they're forecasting it to get a little bit thicker. And here's the last day of this GIF. So that's it. And soon the sun, well, right now the sun is about up here on Svalbard and coming around, and as soon as it starts hitting the sea ice, this is going to be melting pretty fast, is what I'm thinking. So we're going to close that out for now, and I'll leave that up there in case we want it. Now, and we do have methane to look at today too, but I wanted to look at the sea ice. So here we are in the Arctic for today. Let me open this up. And it's pretty cloudy, so we can't really see exactly what's going on. Here's Svalbard, and you can see how the sun is retreating. And remember last time when I showed it, it was just starting to peek out from this black area. This is as the Earth is tilting, changing its tilt from the winter in the northern hemisphere and tilting towards the sun. Then it's getting more sun, so this black area where the sun isn't shining is getting smaller day by day. So we'll just look today and see what we can see. Here's Greenland, here's Iceland. Now here's the sea ice around this east side of Greenland. You can see it through the clouds there. Here's Svalbard. It's still in the dark. And so this Kara Sea, a lot of it is in the sunlight now. and where we've been seeing the methane releasing. A lot of that is in the sunlight. And then here's the Laptev Sea, and we can see that now this coastline is pretty much clear of darkness. There's just a little bit left over here that's still in the dark, but now this the coastline of the Laptev Sea and the Chukchi Sea, the East Siberia Ice Shelf, and all of that is in the sunlight now. And then here's the Bering Strait. This is sea ice here coming out, and here's Alaska, the top end, and then it comes across, and then here's Canada. Now it was right over here that we saw this sea ice so thin, according to that Navy model. So let's go back and see if we can find a day when there's not much snow, much clouds, so that we maybe can get a peek at this sea ice. Okay, let's see what kind of clouds we have. If we check on ice surface temperature, wherever you're seeing color, that means we're seeing the ice surface, so that's cloud free. And this is the warm area. See where it's higher in the green area. Now this is in Kelvin, and that's at 266 Kelvin. This is 268 Kelvin. That's 267 Kelvin. So it's not that cold. I mean, it's just barely below freezing. And so we can see here's the sea ice, and here's the break, there's the ocean, and then here's where the other sea ice picks up. It looks like this is kind of a shelf on the edge of the land, but this is the sea ice is very broken up. So this is quite this will melt pretty quickly, I'm thinking. So this is in the Beaufort Sea here. So this is what it's looking like over there. And that was on the 12th, which was 6 days ago. We can see large chunks here. Lots of space between those ice chunks. And all the way out here to Alaska. And if we look at Climate Reanalyzer at the 2-meter temperature anomaly, it's red. In this whole area that we're looking at, it's in the red zone, meaning that it's warmer than it normally is this time of year. And so this, like between brown and red, is about 15 degrees Celsius warmer than normal. When you get up into this bright red, that's like 20 degrees Celsius warmer than normal. So a lot of Alaska, part of Canada, and then in this Arctic is in that red zone there. So that's what we're looking at right here. So if we progress forward, now there's cloud cover there. We can automatically see when we can't see the sea ice, that means it's cloud covered. So this is why it's so hard to really do a daily analysis of the sea ice, because you can't, a lot of times you just can't get a good view of it from the satellite image because of the weather systems that are up there. So that's what it looks like today. So it's definitely cloud covered, and so a lot of this is cloud covered. Let's peek over here at Novaya Zemlya, at this area. Let's go back and see if we can find a day when we can. Okay, this looks pretty good. We're not seeing a lot of clouds here, so here's whatever little bit of sea ice is there, and then that's open water right there, you can see. And then on this other side, this is the eastern side of it. This is here's the edge of the sea ice where there's a big space between the little bit of ice around the coast, and then this is water here. Let's see. Okay, look how warm that is. That's 260. That's 268 Kelvin. So this is, so it's quite warm in this area, and so that's not clouds. This is very, very thin, just very lacy sea ice. They call it grease ice when you see it streaming like that, because it's just a little bit on top of the water. We can't really see a lot up here right now. It's broken up, but it never refroze over here. Not really good. The ice that did come back over here was very thin. We never saw it out of that lavender range on the Navy website. Let's see if we can go back. Here it is on the 14th. Here's some open water. Here's the sea ice. So see, it's away from the coast. And this is where we're seeing a lot of that methane releasing. So there's that. And before we take a peek at the Antarctica, I want to go ahead and show methane while we're looking at the North Pole. Just get all this North Pole stuff taken care of. So here we are on Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services website. So we showed the new day yesterday that we showed was Friday. And so now we have new data from Saturday the 16th. I've chosen the Arctic area and surface level. And so at the end of Friday, here's where it ended up. There was a release that came all the way across from the Chukchi Sea, all the way across over to the Canadian islands and spreading out across Greenland. We were seeing a release over here to the east of Novaya Zemlya, and we were seeing this release finish up coming out of Russia and a new one building. And also this release from the North Sea. So I have the movie loaded up, so let's let it run through and see what it's up to now. Okay, now it's in the forecast period. It'll smooth out after this first time through the round. Okay, here we go. Now it's in the forecast period, and so they're forecasting a new buildup here in Russia or Siberia, and then kind of thinning out, but definitely coming out over the or out of the Kara Sea and the Laptev Sea as it moves across. And see here it's moving on down and coming down to Svalbard. Okay, so there is the end of Saturday. So that's what happened on Saturday. So still releasing, and it's in this kind of orangey color here. So now I have it loaded up for the North Pole view so that we can see the whole northern hemisphere. So we can get a bigger view. And there it goes. And here's China. Here's this is Korea, North and South Korea right here. Here's India. Here's the Indian Ocean. Look at it coming out of the ocean in this arc. And the green is released too. The green is pretty high level. On the old scale, the green would be orangey. This green, that light green is 2,000 parts per billion. So it's going to town. So I'm going to pause that. See if that'll go. I'm going to use that as my backdrop now for when we do our earthquakes. Now let's hop on down to the Antarctic. We haven't looked down here in a while, and also the sea ice. I wanted to show you on this 2-meter temperature anomaly. Well, look at Australia. It's almost all covered up in brown, so it's warm, as we know. New Zealand is in the brown area, but look at Antarctica. It was like this yesterday. It was more red yesterday, but almost the whole interior is in this red zone. And here's the Weddell plate, the sea ice plate here. And so it's a lot warmer than it normally would be. So with that in mind, and we've talked about recently about the Antarctic melting and the microbes and the lakes and the pools and stuff that are forming in the ice there. So let's look at now the snow cover, sea ice and snow cover. This is the sea ice, and it's not good at all. Of course, they're going towards the end of their summer, into their fall now, as we're going, as we're still in the middle of winter and headed towards spring. It's just the opposite at the other pole. So here I have the National Snow and Ice Data Center pulled up, and here's the Antarctic, and we can see this red line. This is the median line from between 1981 to 2010. And so we can see that the ice is a lot less than it normally is this time of year. So let's look at the graph here. This is Southern Hemisphere extent anomalies, and so starting from 1979 to 2019, so we're really at the low end, at minus 20%. So that's how much it's lost. So there was something else I was going to show you. Oh, daily. It was this graph, and this is the concentration. Here's the graph. Area of ocean with at least 15% sea ice is it's really low. This blue line is this winter from 2018 to 2019, and you can see it was at the lowest, and then this dark gray line was last year, 2017 to 2018. So now that one is at the lowest, and now we're a little bit higher than that, but it's still very low. It's still very low. So there's that. So, you know, you can go to this web page and check it out. Their daily or monthly sea ice. Here's the Arctic, there's the Antarctic, and you can check out these graphs and things, and we can see that for the Arctic, it's at its lowest extent on record. So there you go. That's what we're dealing with, and this is the reality of it. So now let's take a peek at what's going on down here. I found some interesting things to show you since last time we were here. Down here in the Ross Sea is an island. This is the Ross Island, this whole island, and this is Mount Erebus. This is the volcano that's been active for over 1 million years down there. It's not actually exploding, but it is giving off gas and steam and stuff, and normally there's too much ice and snow for us to even see this island, but I think it's kind of cool to be able to see it. The island is like comes here and here, and then it has a little piece, an ear that comes down here. I don't know if this blue is a shadow from the volcano, or if that's where like the ice is melted. I don't know. I can't say. And then McMurdo Station is over here somewhere. That's where they do a lot of the research testing and stuff and all of that. But we're seeing a lot of blue. I'm thinking it's from melting, and these are probably pools of the water, where but it's stuck up there on top of the ice. And we can actually see some mountains here, the surface here, and then this is the snow there. So this is the Ross Ice Shelf, and we can see that the sea ice has totally melted from around this ice shelf. Now this is a cloud that we're looking through, but this is the edge of this Ross Ice Shelf. And so there's no sea ice coming out from there. That's all melted now. And then coming on around, this is the Pine Island Glacier. Remember we talked about that? There's a cloud over it right there today. And we can remember that there was a big part that broke off. Well, that has now totally separated and broken up and has moved on out. And this is looks like the largest piece of that had broken off. So it's going out to sea, it looks like. And then there have been articles about the Thwaites Glacier and it melting underneath, that there's a big hole and all this stuff. The Thwaites area is this area right in here. It's quite a it's next to the Pine Island area, but it's this area here. And they're saying that they're okay, and I think it includes this area here. And if we zoom in, I'm not sure where they found that hole that had melted. I'm thinking it could be this. That's as close as I can go in. So, okay, there it's cloudy. Here it is from yesterday. See, it's just hard. Every day is different. Here it is from the 14th. Let's see what's clouds there. Okay, so we can't really tell. And the articles that I read, it didn't really tell where the big hole was, but a whole bunch of it is already melted. This is sea ice here. So there it is from the 13th. And you can see how much the weather changes on a moment's notice down there, just from day to day. Where one day it's like really clear to see what's happening, then the next day you just can't see a thing. Now this is the Weddell Ice Shelf. This is the Weddell Sea. And this is an area that normally has the thickest ice. This is the West Antarctic Peninsula. And this is where the Larsen ice shelves are. I did a whole show on Meet the Larsens. So if you haven't seen that, go and watch that. And it tells about the disintegration of the Larsen ice shelves. This is pretty much cloud covered today, so it's hard to see. But there is an iceberg that we've been watching, this A68. It had broken off of this Larsen Sea ice shelf last year. Was it last year? Yeah. And then it had just kind of stayed next to the shelf, and then last summer, or when they went into summer, it started moving, and it moved over their winter time. And I think the last time I showed it, it was pointing out about like that. But you can see, here's a pretty good picture of it. You can see how much it's rotated around. This is called A68. And this is the area where it broke off of. And so it's moved out and rotated all the way around. And there's still some sea ice holding it in. And it looks like it might be held in. It's a huge, huge iceberg. And so I don't know if it's dragging on something, on rocks or something underneath that's kind of holding it, or if it's just the sea ice keeping it from going out. But it looks like it's not going to go out to the ocean. It's not going to go on its journey yet. It's still there. This is the Larsen B, what's left of that. And this was the Larsen A ice shelf, and that broke up a long time ago. So we can see the sea ice is very thin here. Of course, the sun's been up for many months, and it's starting to go down towards the horizon as the Earth is tilting. But we can see open water right up to this is the Weddell Sea here. And then there's another area that's melting a lot, and what we saw on Climate Reanalyzer was this interior area that was in the red, and it's this Amory ice shelf has been melting as well, and we can see the blue where it's pooling, where it's melting and pooling. I can't really see where the ice has been pouring into the ocean though. I don't know if it has been. Normally when that happens, it doesn't look the same every single day. Like this edge is pretty well defined, and so I think it's mainly melting back up here. But remember, there are lots of volcanoes, active volcanoes underneath this whole Antarctic region, and so things can be heating up. I mean, a lot is underneath that we just don't see here. It's a whole different geography underneath. Oh, that's interesting. Look at this. This is today. Look at this melting. That's what it looks like. That looks like melted here. This is the glacier, or the ice sheet, and so if someone else who is more knowledgeable about this stuff, if they can tell us if this is open area or where it's melted, that would be great. Okay, we spent quite a bit of time on that, but we haven't looked at the Antarctic in a long time, so we'll leave that there. And now let's go to earthquakes. And we're not going to go over comments today. I didn't get very many in, and so I've decided that instead of going over comments every single day, I would show you more research and articles and things, and definitely methane, and I definitely want to keep up with earthquakes every day too. So we will do comments, but just not every day. And I may not do every single comment. I may just share ones that warrant more discussion. So I have to kind of pick and choose how I spend the time here now. So here we have USGS pulled up for the last 24 hours, all magnitudes, and we're showing 143 earthquakes on the map worldwide. You move that over, and here if we go to 2.5 magnitude for the last 24 hours is 29 worldwide. So I'd like to start over here with this one in Turkey. This was a 4.1 that came in near Saray, Turkey today at 8:31 this morning. Almost on the border there. Near that red line. Then moving on down, Indonesia has been active. Remember, we had the 6.4 down, Papua New Guinea yesterday. So, and today's the full moon, and it's called the snow moon because of the time of year. And it's a super moon. So we've got a 4.3 that was near Sinabang, Indonesia. In Sinabang, I know there's a volcano there. So this one came in this afternoon at 2:11 p.m. These times are all Pacific time. Here's another one in the ocean. This one was a 5.6 near Krajan Tomba Krajo. This one came in at 11:30 this morning, 21 kilometers deep. Now let's click on this little wave and see if there was a tsunami warning with this. And that one was not even listed here, so I guess no tsunami. Uh-oh. Hang on. Alright, I accidentally had closed out my window there, so I had to get it back. So no tsunami warning there. Here's one on a red line in the Banda Sea, a 4.5 near Salmlaki. This one came in at 7:01 this morning. Here's a deep one, 202 kilometers deep. Here's this one was near this island, Pulau Bacan, 5.0 near Laiwui. This one came in last night at 8:15 p.m., 32 kilometers deep. Here's one off the coast of Pulau Morotai. It was a 4.6 near Tobelo. This one came in at 9:49 this morning, 35 kilometers deep. So this Tobelo region gets lots of earthquakes. Here's one over in the Tonga area, right on the red line, a 4.9 that happened at 7:46 this morning. Then coming on up, another one to the east of Taiwan, 4.6 near Harare, Japan at 11:32 last night. Next was a 4.2 in Izu Islands, Japan region at 12:01 this morning. Very deep, 422 kilometers deep. Next is up here in Russian territory, 4.8 near Severokursk, Russia at 7:16 this morning, 144 kilometers deep. Then here was one right on the coast, well, just barely in the ocean, 4.5 near Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky at 7:06 last night, 69 kilometers deep. Next was a 4.7 in the same region at 4:26 this afternoon. So those are the, let's look at Mexico real quick. Get all the international ones first. This one was in the ocean. 4.7 near Manzanillo, Mexico. Last night at 7:22 p.m., 35 kilometers deep. Now let's go to Hawaii next. We've got 10 here today. We've got a 2.5 that came in at 3:17 this afternoon near Fern Acres. Here's one in the ocean, a 1.9. Here's a 1.9, 2.2. Let's look at that one again. Okay. Now all of these are in the Kilauea crater. We've got 6 here. I'll call them off. 1.9 at minus 0.2 kilometers depth. 1.9 at minus, or I'm sorry, the first one was at a minus 0.2 kilometers depth. The second one was a 1.9 at a minus 0.1 kilometers depth. 1.9, 1.7 at a minus 0.7 kilometers depth, 1.8 and 1.7. So that's active. So that's what's going on in Hawaii. Now let's go over to Dominican Republic. We've got 10 on the map today. The largest one is the most recent one. This 4.8 near Roadtown, British Virgin Islands. This one happened at 3:38 this afternoon at 87 kilometers depth. So I'll call them off. 1.8, 2.4, 2.0, 1.7, 1.7, 2.8, 2.7, 2.8, 2.8. So that's all of them down there. So that 4.8 was in the ocean, so that didn't cause any damage. Now moving on up to the Alaska area, we have 2 in the Aleutian Islands right here. We have a pair near this same island. They were both 4.8s, and this first one happened last night at 7:41 p.m. and 43 seconds, 35 kilometers deep. The second one happened, 4.8, happened last night at 7:42 p.m. and 4 seconds. That was 183 kilometers deep. So only about 20 seconds apart. Those two, the same 4.8, but different depths, 20 seconds apart. Now moving on up into Alaska. We've got 47 on the map here today. And let's see the largest ones first. Here's a 2.5 near Homer, 2.5 near Iliamna, and we had a 4.4 near Big Lake. And this is in the Anchorage area. This is where that large, the 7.1 or whatever it was, happened a month or two ago. Can't remember exactly when it happened, but think it was in January, early January. Anyway, this one came in at 9:02 this morning, 39 kilometers deep. So when we go to all magnitudes, we can see them peppered around, but we can see them mainly clustered in this anchorage area. So the rest of these are under 2.5 magnitude. Now let's come on down into the United States. We're seeing one here in the New Madrid Fault Zone area. 1.7 near Lilburn, Missouri. This one happened last night at 10:54 p.m. And moving on over into the Yellowstone area, we're seeing a 1.0 near Lincoln, Montana. And then in the Pacific Northwest, here's one just north of Seattle, a 1.0 near Esperance, and 1.6 near River Bend, Washington. Now this is a holiday. It's President's Day in the United States, so a lot of the earthquake makers are taking the day off, I imagine. So we're not seeing anything in Arizona or Utah today. So let's look at Nevada. Here in the Reno area, we've got, oh my gosh, look at that cluster at Incline Village. Let's do these first. Here's a 0.4 and a 0.6, and they're just saying that these are southwest of Reno. Let's see where this is exactly. Okay, so this is Mount Rose Highway here. So this is in the foothills, and then this is, let me get my bearings. Here's Mount Rose over here. So this is the mountain next to it. We've got this cluster. They're different depths between 10.1 and 13 kilometers. I'll call them off a 0.4, 0.8, 0.9, 0.1, 0.8. I know that they were going to be doing some blasting up there for avalanche control because it's gotten so much snow. I'm thinking that might have caused those earthquakes. I just don't know where they were going to do that blasting, but there was so much snow. I think it was over the highway at one point, like 15 feet of snow on the highway. But you know, Mount Rose is down here, and so that's quite a ways from Mount Rose for them to have caused earthquakes with blasting. But let's see when these happened. Last night at 6:31, 6:36, 7:26. No, they wouldn't be blasting at night. So that's not from blasting. And then the last one was at 10:08 last night. So I can't tell you what that's from. No clue. But it's curious. Then we've got some down here. Here's a minus 0.3 at Hawthorne. And here's a couple. 1.5 at Gabbs. 0.6 at Gabbs. And just a few down here in southern Nevada. not huge, 1.3 and so forth. Now, okay, nothing in Northern California to speak of. Let's go over here. 2.6 near Anderson Springs. And notice that the geysers is quiet, but Anderson Springs is not very far from the geysers. Here's a 1.9 near Kenwood. Now moving on down, here's a 2.9 near Alum Rock. So that's higher. That's a little bit higher magnitude there. 1.5 near Tres Pinos. 1.9 near Pinnacles. Here's a 2.1 near Templeton. Eerily quiet in the Los Angeles area. Here's our cluster at Kauai. Let's see how many are on the map here. On Southern California, we've got 27. Here's a 2.5 that came in at Yucaipa at 4:49. Let's see how many are at Kauai. 15. Not that many. So see, it's pretty quiet today. No blasting, no explosions. 2.0 near Lucerne. 1.6 near Ludlow. Well, that's where we had that huge swarm. So it had one last hurrah there. And a couple up here. 1.0 at Coso Junction. And a 0.9 at Little Lake. Eerily quiet. 1.0 near Beatty. 2.5 near Big Pine, so that's a little higher. 2.2, this is at Mammoth Mountain. 1.5, 1.8, 1.0. So some of these were a little bit higher in magnitude than we were used to seeing, but not as many in number. So let's see what else has happened since we started recording this. We got the Yucaipa, or Yucaipa. Did we see all of those? Yeah, we saw all of those. Did we see this one? Yeah, we saw that one, and these two up here by Kamchatka. Alright, I think that's a wrap. I don't see any others that I missed. Got that one. So I will let everyone go for this Monday. Hope you had a nice weekend and getting ready to go back to work if you had the hot day off or whatever. So I do believe we are in the end times. I believe time is very short and that we need to prepare in many ways, mentally, emotionally, physically, but mainly we need to prepare spiritually for what is to come. And I recommend everyone get your spiritual houses in order. And if you haven't tried Jesus, you might give him a try. He's patient. He's been waiting for a long time, and a lot of people, including myself, he was the last stop. I went everywhere else, and then finally I ended up coming to him. It totally changed my life, and I would never go back. I would never give up my relationship with him now. So I love all of you very much, and until next time, God bless you, each and every one. Go in peace, and good night.